So, welcome to this Youth Parliament. I'm sure there are so many of you from so many different states and countries out here. Now, before we start off, just wanted to know how many of you normally read newspapers or watch television or, some way or the other read about news through the digital arena. You can raise your hands. Okay, that's a good number. Now, if we talk about the international scenario right now, the global scenario, what do you think is the most pressing situation right now in the world? Any one of you?
Namaskar sir, the Nepal issue because as we have Indians.
हम लोग बातचीत का सिलसिला बाद में करेंगे, खाली एक जनरल इंट्रोडक्शन पे अभी बात करेंगे, उसके बाद में हम लोग कंटिन्यू
करेंगे. Okay, we'll take the question then as we go ahead. Just one important aspect out here is that we'll deal with different issues of society, we'll deal with different facets of life, because you are at your prime age right now in terms of the youth. You are the tomorrow. So from that perspective, it's very important to first understand where you stand and where you want to grow as you grow further. So from that perspective, it's very important that when you perceive life from a career point of view, prior to that, of course, you'd be taking your own career path as you go ahead. But one very important aspect here is, I always put my country first. That should something which should always be with you as you go ahead. May it be any discipline. That does not matter which discipline you are going to take up as you go ahead. But always keep in mind that whatever you'll be doing, you're going to contribute to the country in some way or the other, maybe direct, maybe indirect. But always keep that in mind as you go ahead, because that's something which I think is one of the most important aspects as you go ahead, because the world as it was 20, 30 years back, the world as it is now, and the world that will be as you grow older will be different. Not just from an international scenario, but also from a national scenario. So, education, employment, environment, there are tons and tons of issues. And you have to lead it at the end of the day. So from that perspective, I think it's very important that when you choose your career path, keep this always in mind, that you have to go for something. Whatever path you choose at the end of the day, doesn't matter. What matters is not just also your success, because remember, the success that you are going to get is a success which will, at the end of the day, indirectly affect your family in a good way, the society in a good way, and the country at large. So from that scenario, I think it's very important that whichever line you choose to go ahead, it's of utmost importance that it's not just choosing the right career path, but it's also important how you are going to shape it. There are many people who are really, many students who are, I would say, I've found in the last 5-10 years, who are, I would say, really 1 in a lakh, really good. But somehow or the other, they have not been able to grow further because of some reason or the other, but that reason is in themselves. So don't blame society, don't blame the country. So I would rather do an introspection myself before I go out and blame somebody from that perspective. So from that scenario, I would say all the from the country's perspective, when you see, your growth is the country's growth at the end of the day. So as you go ahead in your career path, it's something which is going to directly, if not just affect you, but at the same time, you can bring laurels for yourself, family, state, country. So keep that in mind always as you go ahead. Because I would just take a small example. When I'm doing something, say for example, as a journalist, 15 years back, 10 years back, or as a trainer, I would always keep this in mind that whatever action that I'll carry out, it's not just should be beneficial to me. And remember that the action path that you follow while carrying it out is the most important element. So from that perspective, it's important to keep the morals high. It's important to always be honest to yourself. Because if you are honest to yourself, then remember, you will touch the sky. No doubt on that. May you be from any part of the country, may you be from whichever town, city or village that you belong to. Doesn't matter. What matters at the end of the day is your grit, is your determination to go ahead and in a way carry it out so that you can do benefit to yourself and the society at large. So, if there is anything that you want to ask before we go on to the next session, I'll talk about the stuff that I started off with in international affairs because primarily my area of expertise is to do with international relations and security. So, if there's anything that you want to ask to do with, for example, today you are here together for the next 3 days. There'll be so many sessions coming in. We have the tagline as the role of artificial intelligence in good governance. Now, AI is picking up in a big way. I'm not talking about ChatGPT because that's the most used modem. But the real AI goes beyond that. So from that perspective, how much will it actually help in the governance, not just, I'm not talking about a country here or a state here. It can start with a small village, a town itself. And it is going to creep in. And within the next 5 years, you would find yourself in a position where you really need to think out of the box. Because the normal issues, the way normal issues are dealt with in everyday life, problems, whatever comes in, you can take help of technology. But at the end of the day, remember one thing nobody can take away from you, your intellect, your brain. So human brain, despite whatever technological advancements you make, will always be there as the focal point. I'm not demeaning AI here because it's going to play a very important role. We use AI in our operations. But still, from that perspective, it's important that you understand and also know the limitations. You may say, what's going to happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line as we go ahead? It's not about just the time. 5 years down the line, of course, from a governance perspective, it's going to really take up AI in a very big way. 10 years down the line, it's going to change the entire texture. And beyond that, it's going to actually make things much more easier. The ways I would say to govern will be much more easier. But remember, you still have to apply your mind. Because the decision making rests on you. You will get the solution. Whether you agree to the solution and implement it or not is your choice. So from that